welcome. Thank you for being here. So we're going to talk about the autocoder. This is the version 4. It doesn't have a code interpreter, but it creates great code even with the lack of it. We're going to talk about it. Uses 4 essential files and 1 helper file to run. So it's a multi-step process. So just before I got on, I was doing some testing. Actually, sorry, I was doing quite a lot of testing. As you see in old generations, I've generated quite a bit of stuff. Maybe towards the end we'll talk about that. But I asked it to create a FastAPI web server, and it wrote the HTML, JavaScript. This is served directly from FastAPI, and it also automatically added the GPT call. So I just want to run this real quick to show you. This is pretty cool. The fact that it did all that in first try. So we're gonna start this real quick. So the user interface is not that great. That can be handled, but see, it actually, we are talking to GPT. So that's the cool part. Tell me about yourself. It asks to, so this program that it created for database management, when you run it, it asks you to, for example, create a table. I'm just going to say new, enter column names. I'm going to say A, B, C, D. And it created a DB. I'm going to open the database. I have the database extension installed. Look, it created that table. The thing is that the first app quits right away, but the third one actually keeps going. So enter the database file path. I can just get the file path with by relative path, paste it, and then now we can actually create a new table. Let's say new 2. Let's say name age. And when I refresh this, as you see, the next one is created. So this is pretty awesome. But let's do some, let me show you how it works. Okay, you can run this 2 ways. You can run it directly from this file. Oh, by the way, the file is going to be available at Patreon. As a matter of fact, I'll make the post right now. I forgot to do that. But let me just show you how you can run it in completely autonomous mode using the argparse arguments from the command prompt. Let me just start that. While you watch it, I'll do the post on Patreon for the code link, code download link, and I'll be back. So the way you start it is you say Python, the name of the file, which is autocoder V4.py, and then it has some arguments. Auto means that it's going to set this to true, which means it's going to run everything automatically. You can select, you can enter an argument for -- model. If not, it's using GPT 3.5 Turbo 0613. I can actually change that to, there's a model. Not a lot of people notice, but there is a GPT 3.5 Turbo 16K 0613. Now this is the 16K model with the ability to call functions, I believe. So this is pretty interesting. Anyway, let's just set it to that. And number is how many simultaneous generations of code we want to make. We'll talk about what that really means. And then pause is because this generates instructions. Let me demonstrate. I'll say pause. Okay. And when you run it like this, it runs. Okay. Just pay attention. This program can consume a lot of tokens, especially if you're using GPT-4 and doing three simultaneous generations. I've seen a single run of this cost like $1. Not always, but can cost anywhere from like 30 cents to $1. And the more you increase this num parameter, the more it's going to cost. But it does create pretty awesome code. So what can I code for you in Python? I'm just going to say something like, we are using, you know what, let's not use GPT 3.5 Turbo. I'm going to say model GPT-4. You can also specify 0613, because that is a newer model. It's fine-tuned. Fully functioning snake game, I'm going to say, and it's a multi-line input. So when I'm done, let me say in Pygame, and then I say done. After that, it generates instructions for the code. So it's going to do that. And because we ran it with pause, it's actually going to pause after instructions are generated, because it's going to save these instructions into user instructions.txt. These are the previous instructions. Once it's done writing the instructions, it gives you a chance to review these instructions, because this is pretty much the essential step, right? You can review the instructions at instructions folder. No, I have to change that. No, it's in the user instructions.txt. See? Here we go. So you'd normally read this and make sure it's all right. You can edit it, whatever. We're not going to do that just now. So then you press enter. At this point, default is set to 3. It's generating simultaneously with concurrent features 3 pseudocode generations. Okay, it has generated the first one. It saves them to a JSON file. Anyway, we'll talk about that. Let me make the post. I'll be right back. Still working on the post, but so what it did is it created 3 different pseudo files. Then it went through a process of approving or disapproving them. It approved all 3 of them, and then it generated the final files for all 3 of them. The reason why you're seeing multiple colors is because we are generating concurrently all the code at the same time. So each one of them is colored differently, so it reads like a gibberish here. But as a matter of fact, when you go here, these are the pseudocodes. I am actually using the Visual Studio Code Insider, so sometimes it throws away unnecessary errors. So this needs an indent. Okay, there's another error here. Try except. I'm not sure. We can actually delete that. So this was the first pseudocode. Okay, we don't have to worry about it because this is the pseudocode. From these pseudocodes, it generated the final codes. This is the final code for it. So it says it's possibly unbound error. That's just a warning. That's something about Visual Studio Code Insider. Here, again, it's doing that. We can delete it because it's not trying anything. Here we go. So if we run this, let's see what happens. I hope everything will work out all right. There we go. Okay, look, it built a snake game right away on the first try. So what happens if we hit? Okay, if we hit it, it dies. So we should have checked to see what happens in the failure case. See, it has to be in the instructions. But for just saying, you know, write a fully functioning snake game and having it run in the first try is pretty remarkable. We can try the second one too. This one open and closed. We can try to debug those too. You know, a lot of times it's just like really simple issues. The first one works. So, and at the end of the day, as you see, when it generates new pseudocode, it saves the older ones to file as well. Let's just run another one real quick while I do the post, and then just to demonstrate it again. Also, we'll run with the GPT-4 again. again. Auto is to run it auto. We're going to talk about, this is not the default way to run it, by the way, but we'll just start with that. A fully functioning Flappy Bird game. Now with this, when we do something like this, like, you know, if it's a game like Flappy Bird, it's going to try to have like some images and whatnot, which we're not going to have. So I'm going to say do not use image files. Create all game assets with Pygame. That's it. That's all I'm going to say. I mean, obviously, ideally, I would like to write more, but I'm just trying to demonstrate. And because we did say pause after it is done, it's going to ask for review. Okay, I just did the Patreon post. I'll put it in the description. Hopefully, nothing will crash. I just saved it. I'll put it in the chat as well. I just saved it to description. Maybe if anybody would like to tell me if it actually live updates when doing a live stream. Anyway, so it created instructions. We are supposed to read it, but we are not going to. Let me delete this database so we can get rid of this. And then we say continue, and it's starting to generate three sort of like a code candidate, pseudocode, something like an overview. After which time it's going to judge those overviews. Judging it against the instruction set. These are saved in pseudo competitors as a JSON file, as you see, 1, 2, 3. After that, see they're all disapproved. Because they're all disapproved, then we don't generate. So it's done. Actually, you can modify this when you run it the other way around. You can still generate from the pseudocodes, but in this case, it just didn't. So it just stops right there. I'll have to modify it to be able to generate in this running from the command line interface. Yeah, so we can. Another way to run this is actually just regularly. You just run the file. This is the way I think it should be run. I mean, you want to be in charge of it. Okay, so again, if anybody's new here, it says, okay, welcome. First of all, it's autocoder V4. Welcome to autocoder. This program can consume a lot of tokens. Okay, so GPT-4 can cost 30 cents to $1 for one single run of 3 pseudo generations. So it asks you, which model do you want to use for instruction generation? I'm going to select GPT-4. You can also choose GPT 3.5 Turbo. It still does fairly well, but let's begin with GPT-4. Excuse me. So, and then it asks for instructions, just like it did before. Multi-line input, you can put as much detail here as possible. So let's say, again, Flappy Bird game. Flappy Bird game is pretty complex. I mean, we didn't get any code approved the first time around. Let's say a fully functioning Flappy Bird game. Do not use image files because we won't have them, right? Create all game assets with Pygame. And I just want to add here with Pygame. And then because this is multi-line input, at the end we say done. Oh, Night Spider, thank you for letting me know. Click it. Then it's going to generate instructions. Let's try to read it. So it generates really pretty good instructions as far as I can tell. It's pretty slow. Usually it's faster even with GPT-4, but the API must be overloaded, I hope. Oh, speaking of which, see all of these files. Let's take a look at instruction gen. See, all these files run with tenacity. Tenacity is a library which allows you, so it's a decorator which you put on top of functions. And when it's like, for example, here we're making a GPT call, right? What if it fails? For example, look, I mean, GPT-4 is being slow right now. What if you get a rate limit error? Then, since this is a multi-step process, if you get a rate limit error now, it's fine maybe, but what if you get rate limit error in the final code generation? Then all those tokens that we have used up to that point will be pretty much kind of lost, I guess. I mean, we'd still have the pseudocodes and whatnot. So tenacity retry with exponential backoff tries to retry this, in this case up to 3 times, while waiting anywhere from 4 to 10 seconds. You can modify all these between each failure, and it increases. Oh, okay. I think it's back. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, it's just OBS keeps disconnecting here and there. So it says, okay, review the instructions at user instructions.txt. It writes it here. You should review it and modify it. But for brevity, I'm not going to. And then it asks you, how many pseudocode do you want to generate? So these are concurrent generations. I hope you can hear me. Let me know if you're having any problems, because OBS keeps disconnecting here and there. Anyway, I'm going to say 5, and I press enter. Then it's asking, okay, GPT-4 is recommended for pseudocode generation. Which model do you want to use for pseudocode generation? So this way of running it is cool because it asks you for every step, which model do you want to use? For example, for instructions, maybe you can choose 3.5. Maybe for pseudocode, you can choose, thank you, Night Spider. You can choose 3.5 if you want to. Then maybe choose GPT-4 for the final, for example. So it's up to you. Okay, this lets you choose. I'm still going to choose GPT-4. So now it's generating 5 pseudocode concurrently. That's why you see 5 different colors this time. They're all generated and streamed. These are all streaming set to true, so it's streaming responses. After they're generated, they're going to be saved into a pseudo competitors folder. Okay, while that is being done, I wanted to talk about OpenAI's documentation. If you go to OpenAI's documentation and go to rate limits, so you can read about rate limits, error mitigation. Okay, here it gives examples of using tenacity or using backoff or implementing manual backoff. So these are all to be able to retry functions or processes if you run into an error, so that you can gracefully handle error situations. Just keep that in mind. Maybe I'll put the link in the chat if you guys want to take a look. All right, so here, let's see, all 5 pseudocodes are generated. They're saved to pseudo competitors.json. All 5 of them, they're kind of jumbled up, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. After which time we are being asked, GPT-4 is recommended for pseudocode elimination. So now there's a process of elimination. So we generated 5 pseudocode, but we don't know, right, if they're exactly perfect. As a matter of fact, we can view them. They're written into files too. So you can see, take a look. These are pseudocodes, so errors on them is all right. So you can review each and every one of it. Okay. And then you can make your own judgment. You can actually take this and code it yourself if you like. But we want autocoder to code it. But we wanted to eliminate the bad ones first, right? We don't want to spend a whole lot of tokens on unpromising outcomes. So I actually really like GPT-4 for this particular step, because GPT 3.5 just doesn't try to stay true to this. Because I have to parse out like approved and disapproved. Honestly, I created this before function calling. So function calling probably is going to solve all these problems. So we select one, and then what happens is, Damien, just give me 1 sec. So the first one is approved, the second one is approved, third one is approved. So what this means is the pseudocode meets all the criteria that are listed in user instructions. Okay, now if the user instructions are lacking something, then the pseudocode lacks it too. It's not going to know. Okay, so that's why it's important to kind of glance at the user instructions to see if this is kind of what you want. Modify it. And in the beginning, enter as much information as you want from it, right? Because it's going to reflect in these generated instructions. Anyhow, now that elimination process is complete, we have all 5 of them approved, and they are actually saved to winning pseudo competitors. Not yet, I believe, but they're going to be, I believe. So final code generation 1, and then we go. Now it asks us, okay, well, there's 5 pseudocodes here, okay? It says, which ones do you want to generate? So it gives you at every step of the way some choice. Like the other way of running it through CLI is just fully automated. But this way gives you a lot of control. Like you can take a look and see if these will work or not, right? Like pipes draw. So it says draw pipes. Looks good. I mean, they're all approved, right? But you can actually go here and choose yourself. Disconnected. Actually, the API call was waiting too. So maybe it's a problem with my internet connection, possibly. Anyway, I apologize about that. But anyway, so now we're generating final code. See, it's all being generated simultaneously. We're making parallel calls. While it's doing that, Damian was asking, what is your experience with 3.5 planning? There's a paper, large language model still can't plan. I never really... GPT 3.5 is not very good with those things. Obviously, it's not very good with following instructions, especially like giving you like parsable output. Quite possibly the new function calling maybe helps with that a little bit. On the flip side, GPT-4 is actually quite good. Yeah, sorry about the breaks. Cable internet. So this is in a nutshell how it works. Okay, you can run it in full automatic mode. And then we can also, feel free to suggest ideas, by the way. This is available in Patreon. You can play with it. I'll maybe talk more about the file structures and whatnot. I also found out something very cool about debugging. I'm going to talk about that. Remind me if I forget. What was this? Yeah, so the essential file, like, I mean, if you download the code, you're going to find autocoder tools, autocoder V.4.py, and user instruction, requirements. The requirements for this is just OpenAI term color for colorful printing and tenacity. Yeah, your user instructions are automatically generated, Night Spider. You're not going to see these final code, alt generations, pseudo competitors, none of this. It's those are going to be generated as you use it. Having the AI build unit tests and loop off those. No, honestly, maybe I should be ashamed of it, but I hardly ever did unit tests or anything like that. I never really worked in a corporate environment. Like I didn't build so many production level stuff. So I never really needed, but I'm going to learn about them. Oh, it seems like would be an effective way of steering that. Well, one way, maybe perhaps you're right. I mean, I don't know if you know, but I do have the code interpreter AutoGPT, which that's the autocoder 3 that relies on executing the code and getting the output and the error messages, feeding that back into GPT automatically, and then trying to fix that. That works well, actually. I will probably at some point going to add it to here. I just wanted to start like, this works really well, in my opinion. And it doesn't have a code interpreter. You can actually implement one yourself if you like, as an additional step. I do have instructions for that at Patreon. Also, I do go over the code for the autocoder 3, so it's pretty obvious. Should be back now. Well, yeah. So I was saying, I guess I should have actually sent to each function the API key from here, but actually each file has it commented out. Like if you go to each one, all you have to do is just open these up. But essentially, if you have an OpenAI API key environment variable in your environment file, like you go to your like search for env, it is system environment variables, and then you click on these environment variables. I'm not going to do that because I have so many API keys. I don't want to expose those. But essentially, you click this and create a user environment variables at the top part with the key and the value. If you do that, then you don't really have to do these. It will automatically pull it. But here is in each of the files. You can define it. Yeah, you can also do that end. So the code is generated. As you see, winning pseudocode competitors. I'm not sure why this is empty. There might be some bugs in it. By the way, let me know if you do find them. I'll try to fix them. Pseudo competitors. These were the competing, and I think we got all 5 of them approved, right? Yeah. And you go to final code, and here is the final code. So this looks good. See, no errors. Let's run it. Let's see what happens. Spacebar. Oh my God! Look, it did it. Oh. Wow! Look, come on. This is pretty incredible, and it generates the. Yeah, it's difficult. Flappy Bird is a difficult game. So it generated Flappy Bird just like that from a single sentence of instructions. If I could play it well. Look, with score and everything. I just want to try to pass it. See if it adds to the score. Oh, so close. Let me try one more. Okay, never mind. There's the second one. Let's run this one. Yep, this one seems to work. The different colors. Third one. Third one didn't. Although, like, none of them have any errors, by the way. Oh, this one does. Okay, but yeah, this is pretty incredible. I mean, so this essentially probably cost me from probably like 30, because this is like 100 lines of code. This probably cost us maybe 30 cents and like 2 minutes, and we have a working Flappy Bird game. Ask you to upgrade that game py file. No, not directly. So this is just like this runs linearly. Somebody at Discord was asking, actually, will there be an autocoder kind of like which picks up a project and starts work, like you can continue on a project? I definitely have ideas to add those types of stuff, but currently this just runs linearly. But the thing is, you can copy this code. I've never done this, so let's try. And then let's run this again. Which model do you want? So now here it's asking us for instructions, right? We can say my current Flappy Bird game code, right? I can paste it, and then I can say, please add improvements to this game, especially ability to restart when it is game over, for example. And I'm done. So now it's going to generate new instructions, but now it knows about the code. Maybe it'll mention, look, it's actually saying reset bird position to 400 to 300, because that's probably what happens in the code. Original bird position 400, 300. Reset bird velocity to 0. See? So I guess you can do that in a way. You can actually, I've never done this actually. Thanks for mentioning. Yeah, I guess you, look, wow. It's not only giving the instructions, it's actually given the modified code. Well, that's interesting. So now we have like so many options. So we can just copy this and paste it into like, let's say, let's make a new file like t.py. Let's do that. Let's see this works. But after that, we have ability to generate actual, again, from scratch, pseudocode based on this, and then regenerate final code with this. So yeah, I like this. Let's see what happens. Yeah, so is that number of generations. So that's how many generations you're making in parallel. You see, like, you see the pseudo competitors, like it determines this number, like how many pseudo codes based on the instructions it will generate, and then it eliminates these, and then writes it to winning pseudocode competitors. Because if you get disapproval, then they will get eliminated, and based on whichever ones were approved, then we'll generate final code. Okay, so in how many pseudocode do you want to generate? I guess I should make a five might even, honestly, GPT-4 usually does very well with 3. You can even go 1 just to test it out. But if you're going to go with GPT 3.5 Turbo, you can, go as high as, I mean, if you don't mind the tokens, go 10 maybe. It's cool to watch that. Anyway, so it generated this. Let's copy this. Let's paste it into t.py. Okay, so it's 114 lines of code. The original one was 95 lines. t.py. Let's run this. Let's not run this, actually. Let's save this, okay? Because we are in the middle of the generations, right? So it says how many pseudocode do you want to generate? Let's say 5. I'm really choosing 5 because the eliminator it's very critical. So that's fine, actually. You know what? Let's do 3. Because in this way of running it, from the file, even if all the pseudocodes get disapproved, it still asks you if you want to generate final code from the original pseudocodes. I don't know if I'm making this too complicated, but let's say we generated 5 original pseudocodes, then they go through elimination phase. What if all of them get eliminated? Which means none of them met the requirements of the instructions. But you might want to decide to generate maybe the first one anyway, so it gives you the chance to do that, right? So that's why I'm going to say 3. Choose GPT-4. So it's going to generate those. And each time it does it, it moves these files to older folder. Okay, as you can see, there might be some bugs here, but it should work. So these are like our previous codes. Like if you look back, this was the snake game we generated. These are the pseudocodes for that. So it really saves everything. Okay, code files are generated. So this is the elimination, right? So we're going to choose GPT-4 to eliminate out of the 3. So you're not like, watch. So the first one is approved. If you give really good instructions, so usually they get approved. So once they're approved, winning pseudocodes get updated. Fine. That's should be back now again. Yeah. I think it's okay. Again, disconnected, back, right? Hey, actually, we see the GPT call is paused too. Okay, the spinning circle should have gone by now. So at this stage, the GPT code paused as well. I think Tenacity is trying in the background. Let's give it a moment. Oh, okay, never mind. Good. Okay. So it's writing quite a lot of code. So now we have a few things to test. This one, which was generated in the instructions itself. So if you look at the instructions, it's here. So it not only created instructions because we pasted the code in, right, originally in the instructions. So, but it's also generating 3 new final code based on this entire instruction, including the code that it generated. This was Damien's suggestion, I think. A good one. Sorry about the disconnections, by the way. I think it's my internet. It was working fine until now. I don't want to restart it. I think then the stream will just disconnect completely. So, like I said, maybe we'll try, like I want to show you that GPT calls chatbot web app. Something like speech to text. Actually, I got that working. Ecosystem simulation we can try. So a lot of fun stuff you can do with this. And let me know, you know, what you think of it. See, the files are added, so it's done. After it's done, it quits, right? It says final code files are generated. These are the final code files. Look, this one is 130 line. This one is, again, 130. Yeah, this one just didn't do it. Sometimes it does this, but rarely. Anyway, let's run the first one. So first, let's run the t.py, which is the code from the instruction. So, so those of you who are new, okay, we generated a Flappy Bird game, which was running. So this is the final code, and then the older final code. If you go to 4, this one was working. And then we got this, because it's game over and then it just ends. We put that in the instructions and said improve this. In the instructions that it is generating, it created new instructions plus a whole new code. Then we copied this code into t.py, so now that's what we're running. It says please space to start. Oh, see, now it added R to restart. Good. So now I can really try to do this. I can't play it up. Oh my god. So the pipes are procedurally generated. We asked for that. Ah, come on. Let me go through one just to see if the score is gonna update. Oh, score didn't update. Yeah, okay. Anyway, so this was what was in the instructions, but we also have 3 new ones. Let's run this. Okay, this also has that. I'm not gonna try. So oh wow. Okay. Oh, score 1. No, it's keeping track. Okay, so there's the second one. They're all probably going to be very similar. I'm becoming good at it. And then the third one. So this is, I just want to say, I think Flappy Bird is difficult, especially with procedurally generated game assets. I mean, oh yeah, this one just didn't write the code. So yeah, I mean, this is pretty remarkable in my opinion. So asking for a wider space. Sure, we can do that, but I'm saying, like, let's move on. I want to show you something. Let's go back. So let me demonstrate something. So normally, let's delete all these, like, old. I'm going to keep older generations because these are all the stuff I was working on. So these are all generated by code. See, I'm deleting all these. Move. So I just am deleting all these codes. JSON files, we don't need it. User instructions, we don't need it. We don't need any of that. So all we need is these files, autocoder tools, plus the autocoder V4.py, and the requirements is just requirements. It just runs on these 3. unless I'm severely mistaken. So autocoder V4, you can run it just by running the file, or you can run it through the terminal, because it does have auto argument model for model selection num. So you just have to go to your Python environment, be in the folder in your command prompt, and then you type in Python or Python 3 if you're in Mac, right? Autocoder, name of the file, autocoder v4.py, this one. Then -- auto, this just sets auto to true, so it's just going to run auto, because we're doing a check here. Say, if not args auto, then we do what we've been doing. Otherwise, if args auto, then we just run it like in auto mode, autonomous. And then you can specify a model. So we are specifying GPT-40613. So you can just pick GPT-4, but there's a new model called GPT-4-0613. Yeah, it could be. I mean, it says the score, yeah. But I mean, it was adding after that. So you see, like, it's a simple thing one can fix. But there's GPT-4, and then there's GPT-40613. There's GPT 3.5. There's GPT 3.5 Turbo 0613. These 0613 are the models that are fine-tuned to be able to do function calling. I made a video about that. Okay, and they are since fine-tuned. OpenAI says that especially 3.5 now is better. This 0.0613 model is better following system messages. So they don't say anything about GPT 4-0613, but I'm assuming that this is fine-tuned, so I'm assuming it's probably better. So this just might be a better version of GPT-4. I also do want to mention, little known, there is a GPT 3.5 Turbo -16K model, right, with 16K context, but there's also 16K-0613. Let's actually use this just to see. So this one with 16K context window can also do function calling as well. The other argument, yeah, imagine like you can give it a lot of, maybe few shots. You can really few shot it. So the next argument is to pause. What pause do is, if whether you want it to pause after instructions are generated to review the instructions. Let's skip that step. So let's not pause. Okay, so if you don't do pause, then it'll run fully automated. --num is how many iterations we generated. Let's go 10. Right? Then you say enter. Then it starts the app, right? Well, autocoder V4. Welcome to autocoder. Read this. This process can be expensive. We're using GPT 3.5 Turbo. We're gonna run it 10. Like if you were to run 10 with GPT-4, that means you're generating 10 different code kind of variations at the same time. That just might end up costing $2-3 for every run. So be careful. Just keep that in mind. See, it tells you GPT 3.5 Turbo 160613 selected. So here now, I just want to show something cool. I have just a boilerplate GPT call here with streaming responses. I'm just going to copy that. Bring it here. Mind you, we are using GPT 3.5, so I don't know how this is going to work. Not this here. I'm going to say example GPT API call. Do not take this as an example I'm going to say this model exists currently, because sometimes it is a tendency to say this model doesn't exist and it tries to revert the code to like text DaVinci 003. So I'm just going to say that. And I say example code, paste it, and then create a FastAPI server which serves a chatbot web app directly from FastAPI server HTML. I'm going to say Tailwind. Well, I'm just going to, okay, HTML, CSS, JavaScript files are written and served within the FastAPI server. And I'm going to say, because I've done this before, write the full and functional HTML, CSS, JS code within the HTML within FastAPI as well. Okay, let's see. Done. So now after I press done, this is going to run just till the end. Okay, and watch all the files and folders generated here. So we click generating instructions. The first file should be created as user instructions.txt. So we're not going to get a chance to modify the instructions. Oh, it worked earlier. Remember? I showed. I don't know if you were here. Yeah, it generated this code which works. Oh, it does say press enter to continue. Did I say pause? Okay, see, good thing. Anyway, all right, shouldn't have done that. Like I say, it may have some minor bugs. So I'm not going to read it, but you should read it. Oh, it's going to use Jinja. I have FastAPI UV. You also need to have let's start this. It's going to generate 10 simultaneous pseudocodes. You need to have FastAPI Unicorn and Jinja installed, obviously, to run the. Main cast for movies on IMDb. What say? Take a look at it. See maybe if it's maybe it's a minor problem. Maybe the link is wrong. So like, if it tries to create like links, if it tries to create like file path names, like those don't work, right? It's not gonna know. And I'm saying with IMDb, I'm not sure if it's going to if it's using the API or. Oh yeah, so see, we are using 3.5. See, 3.5 does this. It's supposed to just say approved or disapproved, but it's given an explanation, so it's taking longer. Because we are running 3.5, I have doubt that this is going to work on the first try. But after this, we'll try with GPT-4 too. But see, this is the issue, right? GPT 3.5 just, this is the latest, C306, and it just doesn't want to follow the instructions. I mean, the system instructions. And we said 10, so we got to wait for 1, 2, disapproved, disapproved, disapproved. Okay, also because we ran in autonomous mode, in auto mode, if all of them get disapproved, then currently it's not generating. It's just gonna quit. But it's explaining why, see, it says outline does not define request object, does not provide instructions for creating directories. So it wrote them to JSON file, as you see, all 10 of them. You can parse it out of this, but it parses it out and writes it here. But I believe the auto version, autonomously running auto agent V4, I think there's a bug and it doesn't write the first files to thing. Yeah, I think none of them is going to get approved. We'll run this with GPT-4. after this. Or not as real. Maybe. It's being very here. Winning pseudocode competitors. Huh. Interesting. Even though, see, there's a problem here. Maybe because it's given a bunch. So we got, but it's all like, see, comments. Anyway, let's see what's happening. Okay, it's generating the, let's see. Okay, so it's generating the final code files. So we'll be able to see them here. So it's already, no. You see, one issue is that if you look at the user instructions, okay, it didn't include any other code or anything like that. So this is not going to work, obviously. Well, how do you mean, Shivam? This code is just, which you must have used another repo. Was it GPT engineer or something? Night Spider, no, not currently. I mean, like, remember what we did? You can do that. Essentially, so none of these are going to work because it doesn't have the call. But I'm going to run it again regularly with this. So let's select one. Let's copy the GPT call again. So do we want to say here is a GPT API? This model exists currently. Example API call. Okay, let's say that. Now let's say create a FastAPI server to app which serves app chatbot web app with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript files written and served from the HTML from within FastAPI. Redefine the system prompt for this purpose. Let's say keep track of the ongoing conversation. Anything else? No. This is it, maybe. Create FastAPI. Oh, yeah, one more thing. Write the fully functional HTML, CSS, and JavaScript entirely in the HTML served by FastAPI. Okay. So this is important because we're going to want to see this. Okay, so this is a streaming call, generic streaming call to chat completions. We want it to be in the instructions. So let's see. But if it doesn't include it in the instructions, then we can add it because it's going to give us a chance to modify. Okay, see? You're a chatbot that helps users with their questions using GPT. Okay, interesting. Look, it's define a system role, conversation history, user message, because user message, we're going to have it somewhere here, right? It's going to come through the, let's see what happens. Call the GPT API. So you see, it didn't include the full call. So all we have to do is here, have that, add it to instructions, generate instructions. I'm just gonna put it here. Example, GPT API call, paste it here. That's it, save it. You have to save it. Then go back. How many pseudocodes do you want to generate? Let's say 5. So we're going to generate 5 concurrent code branches, right? It's going to first generate pseudocode, and after that, the full code. So we said 5. We're choosing 1 for the pseudocode generation. They're all being generated at the same time. Let's see what happens. Like I said, I tried this before. It worked. This is the code. I ran this in the beginning. So it's a FastAPI. Serves this HTML, JavaScript. It doesn't really have much of a style. Yeah, this worked, but let's see if we can get it to work this time around. I think there is, because it's I believe there is. That's why I've tested it against GPT-4, and this just performs much better, because like if you take a look, see, it has it's one thing to just tell like GPT, here, just code me a FastAPI website. It's another thing to generate detailed instructions for it. Another to have both the instructions and some kind of code that actually explains like what's going on. I'm not sure why it did like this again. Anyway, but it has like explanations, right? Like create an HTML file for chatbot app, write the fully functional HTML. So it has access to the general outline. So it just makes it better, in my opinion. You can test it out. So then we eliminate it. So we want to, let's see. Oh, this wasn't, sorry, actually, yeah, this was the old pseudocode. That was with the GPT 3.5. So this is the pseudocode with GPT-4. Obviously, look, it's pretty awesome. Here's the thing. None of these include the API call, but user instructions do, and that still gets fed. Additionally, see, this one includes it. If you want, so you can review all this, right? And then actually, we can inject the example call into these as well, like a doc string. I'm not going to do that. So the first 2 actually doesn't have it. So let's see if we'll be able to keep track. So they were all approved. So let's see. This is looking promising. So let's go with the final code generation. It's now asking us which ones do we want to generate from. I'm going to generate all. Here we go. So this is all the streaming chat completions being printed all at the same time, each in different color. That's why it looks like this. Again, I want to mention it writes them. The original pseudocodes, it writes in pseudocompletions.json, and then the winning ones, the approved ones here. But somehow it's not doing that. I'll have to take a look. I think it's deleting them after writing it to a file, because it writes it from winning pseudo competitors, and I think I erased this file accidentally. I wanted to erase it, but I think I'm erasing it in the wrong time. How do you like it so far? Let me know. Okay. Final code file generated. You can review final code files in the final code folder. So the first two didn't have the GPT call. Let's see. Yep. See, it picked it up from instructions because both the instructions and the pseudocode goes back in. This looks good. But it did not write the CSS, HTML, and JavaScript. Second one, it did not. Third one, didn't. Fourth one, didn't. It did not. Oh, that's sad. Let's try this again. This will have to, because it's like in all its prompts, it's all about Python. Maybe that's why it's shying away. But we can maybe force the situation. Let's get these user instructions again. Let me try one more. Let's get rid of this because maybe this is confusing it. Okay, define the HTML variable containing HTML, CSS, JavaScript code. Let's say write the fully functioning HTML. Let's grab this and then CSS and JavaScript entirely. And, like that. Yeah, so this entirely. Let's save this. So okay, so this is our user, but we're gonna have to re-enter this. I'm just gonna. So you know the user experience process definitely can be improved. So we're gonna run it again. What's going on here? Save this anyway. Run it. Okay, one instructions. Run it. So it's going to generate new instructions, and we'll. Oh, done. You have to say done because it's a multi-line input. Done and enter. This worked. I guess it's something in the instructions. See, it did write the JavaScript and the HTML and some styling too. So this doesn't really look much, honestly, but I'll show you how it works at the end. Let's see. Also, I have didn't really redesign, but I've changed the echohive AI Academy to display 4 videos at the same time. Also added the links to the original autocoder, which was the first one. It's used over 10,000 times. Also the GPT-4 web UI, so you can actually use GPT-4 as much as you like. Enter your API key. You can also shuffle now. Take a look. I have all my videos here. You can look at their descriptions. Search, for example, you're looking for GPT-4. Just type it in. It's like instant search. LangChain, maybe. It's pretty live. I'll put the link in the chat. Also, the code download links, like if you like anything, click, it takes you to Patreon. Let me move this back. Okay. Instructions are generated. So let's look at the instructions. We do want to keep the API call. It doesn't look, yeah, it does. Just want to make sure. Oh, yeah. Okay. See, I'm glad this happened. So what happens is that if you have your file open, sometimes Visual Studio Code, because this tries to automatically save it while the script is running, and it can run into issues. Okay, so try to make sure that your files are closed. I'm not sure exactly what causes it. This doesn't happen always. Because this was open, maybe I modified something and didn't save it ahead of the script trying to save something. I think that's when it happens. So essentially what we can do we can copy this. It says statistics calculations. Maybe, or we can go with the original instructions. So we can do both. In any case, I'm going to go with the original instruction. Overwrite. These were the original instructions with the API call. I'll actually save these instructions too. Maybe we can try this as well. Inst.txt. Let's just paste it here. Make sure instructions are saved. Okay. So it's just going to pick up from user instructions.txt anyway. How many pseudocode variants we want to generate? 5 with GPT-4. So let's see. Fingers crossed. Yeah, thank you, Damien. I thought so. I wish I'd done this before. It just, I mean, I do have a lot of videos and I want people to watch them, obviously. I think they're useful. But seeing 4 of them, I think just makes it browsing so much easier. I actually have a video on how I built this. See, I can search for it. See, this one, I just searched for Echo. Build web apps from CSV, how I built echohive web app, which is this one we're looking at right now. And this is deployed at Railway app. So this is a good one. This entire website is generated, served by FastAPI. It's dynamically generated from CSV files. It's the templates HTML. Sorry, all the information gets from Google's YouTube API into a CSV file from my channel, like the descriptions and whatnot. And then I turn it into a CSV file. Then from that CSV file, there's a FastAPI HTML template. It actually adds automatically the elements. So hello, it's connected. Is it connected? It should be connected. Sorry about the disconnection. Good morning, Murder Wizard. I was saying this video explains how I built echohive.live. I was trying to get the share. Get it? Here, I'll put it in the chat if you want to take a look at it. Okay, so our pseudocodes are generated. Now we're at the elimination phase. See, these are pseudo competitors. These are it. Okay, we're going to eliminate with GPT-4. First one is approved, 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 approved. Okay, now we're going to generate final code using GPT-4. It's asking us which ones do we want to generate from. We want to generate from all. So I'm going to select all of it. It says, see, you can examine the pseudocode files in the winning pseudo competitors right here. So you can take a look. And if anything looks not good, maybe you can skip that. Okay. All of these kind of look good to me. So this one doesn't have the API call. This is the third one. Fourth one has it. Fifth one has it. So the third one doesn't have. I'm going to generate all of it. So you use comma, delimited. Here we go. So it's generating 5 final code files to generate a chatbot web app using FastAPI, and also supposedly it's going to try to make calls to ChatGPT. So it's going to write all of it itself. It did this before the stream. Like this works in 100 lines of code. Oh, hey, Parth, how are you? You're gonna like this autocoder. Look, this works well. You know, let me know if you run into bugs. If you want to suggest improvements. I'm going to improve this in the coming days, weeks, and months. I have some pretty ambitious ideas about this. Hopefully, maybe build a commercial app, even possibly. Not like this. I mean, because this is not it. But this is the best one so far. I mean, I have actually GPT Engineer. I actually ran this. I kind of like GPT Engineer, to be honest with you. But the fact that it asks, if you guys use GPT Engineer, it asks like too many questions, which is actually a good. I mean, that's good. You know, when you give it an instruction, I forgot, and it asks you clarifying questions. Maybe it says, see, it creates clarification. So this is GPT Engineer. Have you heard of it? Anyway, I'll make a video comparing it to, I want to make a video comparing it to GPT Engineer, Auto GPT, Baby AGI, and even possibly Super AGI. It's only in the code generation realm, right? See how they stack up. But I mean, I'm pretty confident in this. Anyway, final code files are generated. So we generated 5 final code files. Okay, good. See, it did write the CSS. Good. It did write that. It wrote the JavaScript. Look at this. It's updating the conversation. It's making the call. It's running the unicorn server. You do have to have unicorn and FastAPI pip installed to run this generated code, right? I mean, obviously, because it's importing FastAPI, and you need unicorn to run FastAPI servers. So all you have to do is just run this file. Okay, fingers crossed. Let's see. Okay, you control click this or copy paste. It started and local. Click it. Oh wow! Take a look. Look at this. Let's just say hi. Look at this. Okay, we're talking with. Who are you? I'm a chatbot powered by GPT 3.5 Turbo. What is Capricorn's constant? I love Capricorn's constant. The mathematical number. It's generated. It's not streaming. Even though we gave it streaming responses, it's not streaming to here. So look, we just built a chatbot, okay? Full with HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Served completely from Python with FastAPI. Take a look. See, we can make it small and we can say hi. Oh, that's amazing. That is amazing. And we can call. See, we get another call. What did it say to that? Yes, cover car routine is indeed fascinating. Like, this is awesome. The second one, we can run that. Wow, this is awesome. What do you think? It's epic, right? That's what I'm saying. Okay, this is the second one. It looks the same, but I think the high button is colored. Look, it's making unprocessable entity. I don't know why that's like that. But this is it. I mean, look, you can run it in debug mode and just figure it out. Oh, the problem is, see, it separated the chunking streaming. Because when you're getting streaming responses, you have to for loop over them. And if you're trying to it doesn't know, right? And it put it under extract assistant message function. If it does that, it's not going to work. But nevertheless, since it's saving it to conversation history, we are able to get it. So this is the third one. Let's see. This looks the same. I'm not sure. So from the same instructions, it generated very similar code. So this one works. Actually, this looks better. Third one, fourth one. We did give it. It does generate pretty detailed instructions. So this one looks similar, a little bit different. But see, user and assistant names are not folded. This also have unprocessable entity error. Close it. And the last one. And also Damien, but the cool thing about this is Damien suggested, let's see, they all look the same. Interesting. So from the same instructions, it essentially create, oh, look at that. We got it. It tells you. So because this might have some error catching, possibly to be able to log it. Let's look. Not sure. Oh, here. Okay, well, which one? The third one, I think, was which one was the best one? I mean, let me just find out real quick, because we can maybe try to do what Damien suggested. Hi. Yeah, this one, third one. So we can copy this code. Damien, remember you said, like, Damien was wondering, well, how can we not continue a project? By the way, there's quite a few new people. I just want to explain real quick. We are previewing autocoder V4. This is a multi-step process. Autocoder generates pretty amazing results. The code files are available at Patreon. Link is up in the chat somewhere, but I'll post it again. Just give me a second. Here we go. This should be it. Just want to make sure. Yeah. Here are the code files. So this goes through several process, right? The first process is instruction generation, and it allows you to choose models. We're going to choose GPT-4. Then it's asking us for some instructions. This can be simply like code me a FastAPI website. That's it. We kind of did that a little bit earlier, but we can actually enter entire code. Oh, not that. The response from the generated file, the third generated file, we can paste it here. And we can say, please improve the design. Website, done. So the second step, it generates new instructions. So it elaborates more elaborative instructions, right? So it's actually linking to some style sheet from normalize means CSS. Let's see what happens. It's getting some fonts from Google. I'm not sure if these links are going to work. It's getting roboto. So it's generating instructions now. These instructions are going to save to user instructions. Let me close this so we don't run into that error. From that point on, it's going to generate pseudocode, multiple pseudocodes. We're going to be able to say how many. And then from the pseudocodes, we are going to enter elimination phase. GPT-4, hopefully, if you have access to GPT-4, you're going to get it to try to eliminate the code, the pseudocode, which might not satisfy all the criteria that are listed in user instructions. And then from that point on, generates the final code. And it keeps track of all the generations. Not all generations, that's just the folder I created, but older final code, like see, it has that older pseudocode competitors. right here. So like you can go back. This is one of the pseudocodes it wrote, for example. For example, why it's a pseudocode? Because it says, okay, well, we need an HTML code, but it doesn't write it, right? But it gives hints and says, define your HTML, CSS, JavaScript code here. Because it's going to use it to serve from FastAPI. Say HTML code, def serve HTML at the main page. What are your thoughts, by the way? Feel free to make suggestions. Let's see what's going on. Okay. Instructions generated. We can review it here. It has generated instructions, but we do not want to forget to put the call back in. That's important because of its knowledge cutoff date, it doesn't know how to make chat calls, right? We do give it explicitly. Or we can give the old code. Let's just do that. Let's just go crazy real quick. User instructions. And let me add it in the beginning. Old website code. There we go. So now I just entered it. That's it. The rest of the instructions are generated. You have to save it. If you edit the instructions, obviously you have to save it because it's going to read from this file. How many pseudocode do you want to generate? 5. So if I say 5, right, it's going to generate 5 different branches of code at the same time, in parallel at the same time. And after that, okay, we said 5. It's asking us which model do you want to use? I want to use GPT-4. It does all right with GPT 3.5 as well, but it obviously doesn't do as good. Sure, Parth. Also, like, you know, you can copy paste some LangChain code, just like we copy pasted like GPT API call. But I mean, obviously, the idea is to reduce manual work as much as possible. But at the same time, you don't want to get something so automated that it just fails, you know. So this is you know, controlled running. You get to have a say at every step of the way, but there is another way of running it, which is with arg parse arguments from CLI. We'll demonstrate that again too, maybe. Auto is to just run in automatic. Pause is to pause after instructions or not. To specify how many pseudocode to generate in parallel. Model is to choose model. Default is GPT 3.5 Turbo 16K0613. Yeah, Damien, that's a good idea. I mean, I have like too many ideas. As I'm like, I have been so scattered-minded last 6 months because it's just, one just doesn't know where to go. That's why I've been making a lot of videos, and sometimes the criticism I get is that, well, you know, why are you making, like, sometimes like I feel like not a lot of the videos are like fully completed apps or anything like that, but there's like something new every day. I just want to explore it, learn it, make a video, show it to you guys. Here's the idea. Here's how it works. So you can take it and just run with it, you know? And then I move on to something else too. But the idea always stays, you know, as long as you've seen it, as long as you run it, you know that that thing exists, and you never know. A month from now, you're going to have an idea and, oh, wow, like, you know, I'll use it. It's good to have a bunch of, you know, it's good to be scattered-minded, perhaps, these days. So pseudocode files generated. You can review and change the pseudocode files in pseudocompetitors folder. So it's written here. Yeah, so, oh, maybe it didn't yet. I'm not sure. I think it happens after this. Select the model. Huh. Interesting. Okay, they're all approved. Let's go again. Which ones? Let's do all of them. So it's asking you like which one of those winning approved files, pseudocode files that you want to generate the final code from. We're gonna go all like also like this is probably, let me take a look like how much this costs so far. I'll give you a rough idea. It's not bad. So everything, all the code generation so far that we've done costed me something like $7 or $8. That's not bad. I mean, we've been using GPT-4 this whole time, almost always. Yeah, exactly. You just gotta get there. So it's generating in parallel. That's why, and it's streaming. Like if you look at like final code generation, where is it? Like each one of these are streaming, and they're printed in different colors. It randomly chooses. So once this is done, we're gonna have for the people who are new here, welcome. Thank you for joining. We are testing the autocoder. We were testing a idea of entering entire code into the instruction. Let's just see this quickly, and then I'll do a refresh real quick right after this. It's writing a lot of code, so we might be getting something. Yeah, I mean exactly. You know, that's like I get sometimes I spend like $3 and I'm like, oh my god, like this is expensive. At the same time, this everything like this takes 5 minutes and a few bucks, and it writes for you the. Yeah, I was disconnected again. Sorry about that. It keeps happening here and there. Compared to how much it takes to get lunch, yeah, that's true. I think of it like how much is a shot of whiskey these days at a bar. Anyway, so we asked it to, so this essentially to generate a FastAPI app without the need of HTML, CSS, JavaScript, entirely served from FastAPI, because all the code is written inside the Python. The reason is because this entire autocoder currently is based on Python. Okay, but we can fool it into writing us entire websites. Let's run. So it's running it with Unicorn. Obviously, to run this, you need. Okay, let's see. Yeah, take a look. It improved it. Take a look at that. I mean, did it improve? Oh yeah, look, it's actually coloring the, but it's not. This one is not getting the message correctly. Okay, that's the unprocessable entity error. Let's try the second one. So we got this working earlier, but we were trying to iterate over it. This is a wide. This one has the same error. I think this is easily fixable. I think it has something to do with how we parse the. So it is getting a response from GPT, but it's somehow not parsing it correctly. I'm sure one of these would. This one has HTML response. What is the problem? So we can try to debug it. HTML response. FastAPI responses. Okay, so we need to import, yeah. Just was having an issue there. What is this? Yeah, that's just a warning. Because I'm using Visual Studio Code Insider, it gives these warnings. Okay, this one, hopefully this one will run. No, they're all having the same issue. I'm not sure why. Let's see. For the people who just showed up, you know, we did get this running. Yeah, it's trying to import HTML response from the wrong. It's supposed to import it from FastAPI response. This one is interesting. Yeah, it's still getting that error. But if you go to not old generations, older final code, this one, right? We know this one was working. So just to demonstrate, we essentially gave this entire code back into it to try to improve it. Maybe that might or might not. Hey, I think I got disconnected. It was an internet problem. Yeah, sorry. I hope I'm back. Here we go. Hi. We're chatting with GPT. So it's an entire web app written from a simple 3-4 lines of instructions plus the copy paste of call. Anyway, let's move on, right? Let's do something different. Yeah, thank you. So sorry about the disconnection. So another interesting. Let's see I had some notes here. So we did game of snake, game of Flappy Bird. They both worked, no problem. GPT calls, chatbot, web app worked, no problem. Web scraping, I know it's gonna work. I mean, that's easy. Solar system simulation, you can try that. Ecosystem simulation, I was kind of fascinated by it. Let's try, and let's run this in auto mode. So to run it in auto mode, you create a command prompt. Make sure you're in the right environment and in the right folder, autocoder V4 in this case. And then you run Python, right? Python 3 for Mac OS. And then autocoder v4.py, which is the name of the main app. Auto, to make it auto, pause. Oh, we did have pause last time. That's why. Okay, I'm going to remove pause. So this should make it full auto. We are saying GPT. By the way, there is a new model called GPT 3.5 Turbo 16K0613, which can call function calls. We're going to use GPT-4 0613. Number of parallel code generation, I'm just going to say 5. Okay. So now it's going to ask us for instructions. We're not going to, if this works right, we're not going to get a chance to edit user instructions because it's going to save the user instructions, that text. But if we were to say pause, it would pause for us to review this. But hopefully it's not going to ask us. It's just going to run in full auto. So let's give instructions carefully. I've done this a few times, so hopefully I know what to put here. An ecosystem simulation with Pygame. Do not use any image files because we won't have the image files, right? I mean, we would have to just find, so we don't want to have that. Create all game simulation assets with Pygame. So it'll procedurally generate or use maybe like circles or something. Define basic but fully functional behavior for entities such as hunting, reproduction, etc. Some entities chase others while some run away from others. Let's say entities grow when they eat. I'm just making stuff up. They reproduce. Anyway, let's just go with that. Done. So it's generating instructions. After this, hopefully it's not going to pause. We're not going to get a chance to edit this. So it says define entities in your ecosystem. Each entity should be a class with attributes size, speed, color, behavior of each entity, such as hunting, reproduction, and growth, should be defined as methods within that class. In the hunting behavior, define which entities are predators and which are prey. Okay. See, okay, it didn't pause. So this is, you can run it in auto. You can also fire up few terminals, right? Or few command prompts. Like I can start a new command prompt and actually do the exact same thing here. They'll be running. Oh, I'm back. Oh, hey, I'm back, but it's sad. I mean, because I'm having some internet issues. Sorry about that. I got disconnected, right? But at the same time, our call got disconnected. But we now know that actually tenacity retried. So we know that. So I'm back, I think. Sorry for the breakup again. So we were generating, but then the internet went again. Not good. But we now know that tenacity was retrying. I think it just retried enough times. Okay, that's fine. We'll run it again. Oh, let me just copy my instructions. Hopefully, yeah. I'm just going to copy it. Run it exactly the same way. With the same arguments. This is to run it in full auto, right? And then say done when you're done with the instructions. So it's just going to do it again. So let me talk about a few things I learned. You know, you can run this file directly by pressing the play button, right? You also can run. Let me copy this real quick. And delete this. You can also run it with run and debug, right? By putting breakpoints, and then so if you put breakpoints and run through the debugger, run and debug, or by pressing F5, then it will run this code and pause the code execution wherever you have placed these dots. So then you can go line by line, execute, and see what's going on. That's good. I hope you know how to do that. If not, use it. It's really a useful tool. But how are you going to do that if you're running it through command prompt, right? That was the thing. This is the first time I'm using argparse. It's pretty cool. It's actually pretty easy, right? You just define these things, and then you can then define what they'll be good for. Like for example, I'm saying model, right? The model is defined in the command prompt, such as right, I run this file, right? Python autocoder. This is the file, and then I say auto. This sets auto to true. What does it mean? Oh, when it sets auto to true, then it comes and checks. See, if not, I'm checking if not args auto. See, args.auto is this, and it's by default false. But when I say -- auto, then it's true. So this is saying if not auto, args.auto, which means if auto is false, which is the default behavior, then do this. Otherwise, then that is what happens when you run it like this by play button. But if you say auto, then auto is going to be true. Then it's going to come here and it says, well, our auto is true. Then it comes here and then it picks the model from args.model, which is what we define right here, -- model GPT 3.5 turbo. So this is going to be GPT 3.5 turbo. So the model is going to be GPT 3.5 turbo. So when we run generate instructions, which we're importing up here from autocoder tools folder, we are importing all those files, right? These. Then it's just gonna pass on the model like that. Also, it's gonna pass on the number of pseudocode arguments with the -- now. So this is how it works. But okay, the thing is that when you run this, it just runs, but it's not gonna debug itself. the debugger is not going to engage. So the way to engage it is actually, I found out, let's just check, by the way, what's going on. So everything's done. So everything's generated. We'll come back to this real quick, but real quick, let me mention. In run and debug, you see this create a launch.json file. Okay, you click on that, and then you select your environment, which is Python. Click on that. So it automatically generates this .vs Code folder and launch.json file. See, it's just a folder and a file. That's it. So this is a debugger configuration, turns out. Okay, now that we have this, if we go back to debugger, see now the default debugger behavior is gone, right? When we run this, we are running with this configuration. The cool part is now, apparently you can enter something like this. Expected a comma. Yeah, it has to be a comma here. Yeah. So we're going to run the code not through command line interface, but with the command line arguments, right? So that's why we're entering it here, and then you save it, and then when you press this, like at the very beginning, I'm going to put a break, like essentially right here, okay? And now when I run this, it is going to run with the commands, with the CLI commands, because I'm entering the commands here. And then it's also going to be running with the debug mode, where hopefully it should, yeah, see, it stopped right here. So now I can do line by line executions as though I'm running from command line, but I can still debug it. Yeah, this is pretty cool. I just figured this out yesterday. So anyway, so stop that. Go back. Our code was generated. These are the final code. So we created a thing like this. So we were doing ecosystem simulation. It is a draw method, a hunt method, reproduce, grow, chase, run away, and then a game loop. Let's run it. Here we go. Oh, there was a thing there, and I think it ate it or something. Let's run it again. Oh, they combine. So this really, I mean, it definitely built something. Maybe it needs more instructions. This is kind of static. This one doesn't do anything. I got this to work a few times. It's, but I guess not in this case. But the cool thing is, I guess we can debug this, right? See what the problem is. Maybe move. Is there a move method? Like, why are they not moving, right? Yeah. Any suggestions? What do you think so far? Maybe we'll slowly end this as well. Hey, I think I was disconnected. I should be back now. Sorry for all the disconnections, but we made it through. Another thing is this cool, when you run this, right? What happens is this clear terminal clears the terminal. You know, normally you can clear your terminal by saying clear, right? But you can also clear it from the code. OS system CLS for Windows, and it says clear for. Hey, I think I got disconnected again. Yeah, I think I just got disconnected again. We'll end it anyway, but I just want to show you this art. So I didn't use this, right? If you look, I just copy pasted it from a website which creates ASCII art. But there is also this library It's actually pretty recent too. When you're looking for pip installs, like make sure to check the release history, see if it's in active development. Anyway, so this is pretty cool. So it creates ASCII art. You can print it in the terminal. I'll put this in the chat if you want to take a look. All right. So this is it, right? That's why when you run it, it clears the terminal and then it displays a nice welcome message. It looks nice. Again, I want to say this can cost a lot of, so just, restrain yourselves. Don't generate so many concurrent code. Let me know what you think, please, whether at Discord. Maybe I'll put the Discord link here too real quick. Just one sec. Do it. Invite people. No limit. All right. Here, if you want to, you're not at Discord, if you want to come in, please let me know what you think. This is it. The code is available at Patreon. Feel free to improve on it. I will. How much did I spend? Let me see. Let me check again. It's about $7, I think. $7. I'm surprised actually. I just it depends on how long of a code it's writing. Like, see, if it's writing 100-line code, I mean, maybe the whole. So I mean, it all depends, right? I mean, you can easily write 200-line code and dense code too. So this is not very dense. Depends on what you're trying to do. So yeah, you use it. I mean, this is really helpful, I think. Yeah. So thank you for watching. No problem, Murder Visit. Take care, everyone. See you in the next one. Cheers.